Very good. Welcome and good afternoon to all of you. Thank you very much for sparing your time joining us for this interactive workshop. I promise you we're going to have a fun and a good time working through this session of faecal sludge emptying regulation. My name is Dr. Felix Kinomuchunguzi. I'm an assistant commissioner in the Ministry of Water and Environment in charge of urban sanitation in Uganda. That's I don't know exactly how many miles from here, but quite very many. And just to represent a typical African country struggling with this issue of trying to achieve safely managed sanitation. So together with several partners, we've come up to hold this interactive discussion, try to get some ideas how to move forward. We recall the successes that we achieved under the Millennium Development Goals in ensuring that everybody has access to sort of an improved sanitation facility. You and I, all of you, came and set ourselves a very ambitious target of trying to make sure that everybody tries to achieve what we call safely managed sanitation. It has taken us quite a while, it's almost since 2015 up to this moment. We are still trying to understand completely what this term is all about. But safely managed sanitation is that we get from these improved toilet facilities, get all this fecal matter from those containment, bring it to a treatment plant, and treat this material, sanitize it very well, safely discharge it into the environment. It sounded that simple and very easy. Shouldn't be difficult at all. Just get the shit from the toilet and bring it to the plant. But in practice, I think it has proved to be a lot of complications, like different approaches, different technologies, different issues, which we are probably not well equipped to achieve. But nonetheless, we continue. I always tell my staff, and for me personally, I believe that, as I said, the part which we didn't think about very well is that, okay, we have the employers, we know a lot of history, we have a lot of technology on how to treat the waste at the plant, but the weakest link has been this emptying. How do you safely empty and transport to these plants? There are a lot of things that happen that, and we're having challenges with that. So together with the team from we're together with the partners from ourselves, Ministry of Water and Environment, Uganda. The mention, please just put up your hand. We're together here. Thank you. You came together. Water for People, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda, Institute for Development Studies, UK, Cranfield University, big team. Yeah, that's University of Leeds, the big team here together. Water and Sanitation Advisory for the Urban Poor, WSUP. Yes, so big, yes, together, thank you, welcome. Vidura. Online, it's online, to do that, it's online participating. So all these, I missed, yes. These organizations have come together to put this event together, and hope that this 90 minutes, we can share some reflections, we can share through a very participatory way, through a fun way, different way, and try to see what we can recommend on this particular process of regulating fecal sludge emptying and transportation. So over the next course, these minutes, we want to see how we can make this process, what the regulation aspects that come with it, how can we make it safe. There are too many issues that you're going to be discussing probably in the groups. We're going together. We have some, I can see some faces, some who are not really very familiar, but I think we have people who also have been in the trenches, in the field, all the issues around it. You want to regulate it. I said it sounds very easy. Just say, please make it very safe. Just use emptiers. Okay, it's very easy. But when you do that, we have someone from WSUP tell you, oh, I represent the urban poor. If you have to do that, that will cost you $100 per empty. And you know the income levels of people in the area. So they show you make the regulation so difficult, then they will not do it. And if they don't do it, we are back to even worse off than where we started. Okay, so where do we strike the balance? So all these issues want to, how do we strike the balance where, and how do we make this process safe and supposed to be, but still be able to serve the least disadvantaged members of the community. So all those tensions, I want to get through them through probably a hypothetical case study approach, the different tables you arranged, and then at the end we are going to get to see what are the key messages and what are the key lessons that we have learned from that. I'll invite Jonathan to take it on from here, show us in detail exactly how we are going to do this interactive session. Thank you.
Okay, so this looks more complicated actually than what is really going to happen. So in a few minutes, Claire's going to talk a little bit about regulation, and then as a room, we're going to launch into a role-playing game. So we've prepared a fictional case study city for you to get into and immerse yourselves in, and you've all been organised into different character groups. So can I have a wave maybe from the manual emptiers? There we go. Okay, brilliant. And we've also got some example regulatory mechanisms for you to talk about and explore in your group, and then we'll come back together at the end and discuss your thoughts on the different regulatory mechanisms. But before we do that, I've prepared some fun icebreaker questions for you to get you kind of in the mood and to prepare you to learn about regulation and fecal sludge management and emptying transport services. So, with somebody sitting next to you, for the next 30 seconds only, please can you answer or talk about this question? Thank you. And the timing, yeah?
Nothing to suggest. I very concise, I like it.
Okay, folks, time's up. Time's up. Brilliant. How was that? 30 seconds. Would anybody like to volunteer one sentence answer to that question? Creating order. Fantastic. Any others? Yes.
It's the law that guides setting standard of procedures.
Okay, I'm just going to repeat that for those online. It's the law guiding setting standards and procedures. Is that good? Brilliant. Okay, next question. 30 seconds, off you go. Morning. Okay. Would anyone like to share their answer? Anyone? Otherwise, I'm going to start picking on people that I recognise but haven't spoken to for a long time. Pardon? Would anybody like to volunteer an answer to this question? Otherwise, I will pick on people who I haven't spoken to and haven't seen for a long time in the room, which is a really terrible way of saying hi to them. Okay. Did you just volunteer yourself? Thanks.
Say hi to those people, will be nice.
Okay, I'm going to go for Mars.
Nice
Sorry,
to
mate.
see you again. And it can be basically all kind of like whatever needs to be controlled, checked, and enforced.
Brilliant, thank you. And Yvonne, you already said hello today, but you know.
Permits.
Permits, brilliant, thank you. Okay, final question. Coming up. 30 seconds, off you go. This shouldn't be hard to answer.
You said she needed bodies over here.
Okay, I think that's enough time. Would anyone like to volunteer an answer for this question? This one's a bit weirder. Okay, would anyone like to volunteer an answer to this question? Go on, Yvonne, thank you.
For support.
For me?
For you, for the men, for the ministry.
Brilliant. For those online, that's moral support. Okay, Eric and Ben, what's your motivation for coming to this session?
Well, firstly, it relates a bit to mine in terms of potential mitigation routes for greenhouse gas emissions.
Brilliant. That was too complicated for me to repeat for those online. Okay, so I will see you all later when I will be giving out prizes for those who do the best in the game, okay? I'm going to hand over to Claire now.
Motivation now. Motivation. So this is a research conference, and we just thought we should take a minute to link it back to like academic literature. So thinking about what's regulation. So most people tend to veer towards this like regulations. So it's about the laws and the legal framework and the regulations in place. But there's a whole load of literature around regulation that talks about it being all kinds of social control. So obviously regulations being completely state-imposed, and social control, so regulation can be done by your neighbour, or your local shopkeeper, or really anyone you meet, your friends and your family. So we've gone, for this session, some people might really disagree with this, but we've gone for a very much middle-of-the-road type definition. So we're thinking about regulation being a process for behaviour change, so thinking about social control, we're thinking very much about a policy goal, so led by the state, but with loads of different actors either contributing to or hindering the process. So that's what we're thinking about in terms of the definition. And then in terms of regulatory, like types of regulation or regulatory mechanisms. So again, obviously there's loads of different ways that people put this up. So lots of organisations have incentive-based regulation as a completely different group. But we've grouped it in this way, so that incentives and sanctions are across each group of regulatory mechanisms, basically. And this is based off environmental regulation. So really the work of like Christopher Taylor and Simon Pollard, actually quite a lot of the Cranfield-based regulatory specialists look at it in this way. So, and we've got, this is actually all mapped out to the exercise we're about to do. So basically we're thinking about rules and regulations, so that kind of that first step in terms of regulation. And then economic instruments, so lots of like market-based regulation, thinking about economic financial incentives and sanctions. And then information-based instruments being, I guess the most obvious one being like name and fame or shame, or also like the kind of GPS tracking and use of data. Then co-regulation, self-regulation, so thinking about civil society influence, also thinking about associations. And then support mechanisms and capacity building, which I think is a lot of what we do, certainly in across our sector. We don't necessarily think about it as being regulation, but in this session, that's what we're taking as like part of this, as part of those mechanisms. So that's just our framework for this session. It'd be useful to hear your reflections as well as how useful this structure is. But now I'm going to pass over to Vivian to talk through setting the scene and the case study we're going to work on.
Thank you very much, Claire. Good afternoon. We're going to have our own case study. So it's a city somewhere in East Africa. So how is our city? So it's a secondary city somewhere, as I said, in East Africa. I know Everyone knows where East Africa is, right? Yeah. So our city is having 500,000 people, and most of them are the youth. By talking about the youth, we may think about the people starting from 25 years and below. So 60% of our population is the youth, okay? So when it comes to talking about the youth, also think about the level of unemployment. See? Think about the work they are doing to survive on every day. So we continue. So we are having an informal settlement where most of our people are living. Up to 60% of the people, between 40 and 60%, they are living in informal settlement. So wow, that's good. Our city have achieved the MDG. We are having the toilets in the communities, and they are also connected to water supply. So they have a sewer, but it's serving less than 10% of the total area of the total city. So thinking about that, we are having water, yes, we are having also toilet, but we are continuously having cholera outbreaks. So within the last 2 years, there have been different cases of cholera. So this is the general picture of what's going on in our city and how the city is. But thinking about the institutional and legal setup, we do have a national regulator, and also we do have a utility that is in charge of water and sanitation. So definitely manual emptying is illegal, but it seems like, considering the status our city is, it's the only option that is possible for the low-income earners. Without forgetting, we are also having a very vibrant private sector, and we are having vacuum truck operators that are into an association, but keeping in mind that we still have the manual emptiers. Where are they? Oh, hi. So our city is having a very good plan. So we want to have a citywide safe sanitation coverage within the whole city. And the utility that is there is trying to give license to the private vacuum truck operators and give them the zones, the contract where they will be doing the emptying. So without forgetting again that we are still performing some manual emptying. So we are having different stakeholders. You, us, we are different stakeholders. So we are having the national regulators. Where are they? The bosses? They're here. And we are also having the city water and sanitation utilities, represented by the managing director. We do, yes. We also have the formal vacuum tanker operators. Ooh, yes. And we also have the informal manual pit emptiers. The famous one. So we also have our bosses, the citizen, the community, yes. And we also have the international financial institutions.
They're online.
They're online. So, no, of course, these are So, talking about the regulators. So the regulators, their budget is really thin. And they have a new mandate to regulate the on-site sanitation of our city. And they are having too much pressure to regulate the thing from the international funders. They want the sanitation to be regulated. They want on-site sanitation to be regulated. Remember, we are having also we had different cases of cholera. So the regulators are having too much pressure. It will be also a shame for them if another outbreak is coming without starting the regulation. So they also recognize the importance of the private sector, but they also think the utility is leading the process. But again, the utility does not have sufficient money within our city. So they cannot do it themselves, the utilities, so they trust the private sector to invest into doing the job well done. So, sorry. We continue with the utility. They are very proud. They are very happy. They have achieved a lot. The people are having the toilets. The people are connected to water. But again, they are very happy. But still, they are having cholera outbreaks, and they are also providing the service. They are selling water, but again, the profit is not really what they imagined, because they're struggling with their finances. So they have a new mandate for on-site sanitation, and while calculating the way to do it, they think that it's really expensive. If they want to connect everyone to the sewer, remember, less than 10% is connected to the sewer, so it's really expensive. So they need the private sector to get involved to support them. So they also feel frustrated because the people from low income, the low earners, which is the majority within our city, they are not asking for the service. But there might be a reason why they are not requesting for the service. So we continue. We are having the private sector, the association of the pit emptiers, the formal one. So they are doing the job. They are having trucks. They can do the job, but they are serving a very small part of the people of the community or of the city where they can get money. So our vacuum tanker operators, they are investing. They have bought trucks. They are buying fuel. They have people. They have the staff. So they need to make profits. They need to pay those people and also make profits. So they know they can do it, but they also know that the utility is not capable to do it itself without counting on them. So they also agree that sanitation is a good, it's a public good, but someone needs to pay for it. It's not something that is free. Going to my friends, the informal manual emptiers. They're the ones to do the job that no one wants to do. They're the ones serving the low-income communities. So they are those invisible workers that are working within the community and that are very proud to provide the essential service. They are aware that it's illegal, the manual emptying is illegal, but again, they are serving the community. They know the risk. It's very dangerous for their health, but they're there to do. There's no other option for the low-income earners. So what they want is they want the job to be done. They want to serve their community. They live within their communities and they want to serve them. So we are going with the community. Remember, most of our community are the youth. They're very young. But considering the way they are living, they're not really, they're not earning a lot. They are still low-income earners, the majority. So they have to do multiple jobs to survive. And when you see they have been trying to find money to invest into doing their toilets and also to connect their homes with water. But again, sanitation and water, it's still, yes, a priority, but again, they also have a lot of priorities. They need to feed their kids. They need to pay for school fees. There are also prices that are rising every day. So they need to work hard so that they can be able to survive. So we continue. This is in general how is everyone. Yeah, no offense. So I would like to call my friend, Vidura.
Okay, moving on to the fun bit about what you would decide and what you would do. So think about your characters. You are now in these characters for the rest of the session. As part of this first bit, we're going to give you 5 votes. So each group gets 5 votes, and we need you to think about what you would change. You will see you've been given your characters. You will also have been, now on your tables, you'll see mechanisms, which are basically tools that you can wield to produce change towards what you're aiming for in the city, towards citywide sanitation. You are very welcome to use more than one vote on the same regulation if you think necessary. Also, like I said, please very much think from your stakeholder perspective. Understand the agendas, the motivations, etc. that drive your group, but then also think about where other people may vote depending on their opportunity, their inclination, their agendas, their own decisions, and see where you may have to add more or less votes to be able to make sure that your regulation and your agenda goes through. As part of the end of this group work, I would request every group to nominate one person to feed back and one person to go around the room and put stickers on the regulation that you will have chosen. Okay? This bit of group work, we have 12 minutes, and then we'll come back and feedback in plenary. And so if you have any questions, please let me know before I start the timer. Okay, your time starts now.
So we have to choose 3 facilitators, so it's kind of an assumption. I'm going to make sure we all have fun. Do you understand? Well, so once away then. So at the end, we introduce every word on the maybe and then we'll come back. These changes that Levine is also
different out there,
For the team online, can you hear me?
you have any any opinions over there? Should we criminalize manually?
We're frustrated.
Criminalize manual. If we do that and then manual or not. If you think that we get 100%,
For the team online, can you hear me? So, yeah. That's great. So if you can look into these documents that are being shared on the chat, you can see which mechanism we are supposed to vote in this session. There is as well a character profile that we have to fit in while we are making the votes. And as the previous speaker has said, so we will be representing the international financing institutions and we will look with some perspective in the document that shows which role we have to play on our mindset or our perspective on different stakeholders. You can open the document, you see our perspective and the available mechanisms that we have to look at. So the regulation are divided, the mechanisms, sorry, are divided in 5 categories. So there are rules and regulation, economic infrastructure, the information-based and instruments, the co-regulation and self-regulation, support mechanism and capacity building. And for each mechanism, three changes were proposed. So we can go through them in the coming 5 minutes, and then we regroup to decide which mechanism do we feel like they are more relevant to promote. Are you guys able to open the documents that have been shared, like the regulatory mechanism? If yes, what are your thoughts on the proposed change? Yeah, if you have any suggestion, yes, please type. Yeah. If you want to speak up, also, I think it's possible. You just. Anyone want to speak up and share what are their thoughts on the proposed change? Yes, go ahead, Ibrahim, please. As we are waiting for some of your feedback, there is a Menti. Okay. There is a Mentimeter, a link shared. If you open it, there is some options to choose which proposed change you can vote. So everyone have 5 votes. And apologies, Ibrahim. I think we are reaching out to the technical team to see if they can support.
Yes, hello, Bruce.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, I think they had disabled the microphone, but it's now okay.
Thanks.
Thanks so much. I'm so happy to be with you. And going to the point,
Okay.
I just wanted to understand, are we going to vote the best regulations or
Proposed change?
The proposed change.
Yeah.
Okay. And in case I have maybe a comment on it, what should I do? Because I'm noting some of them down.
Please share. Like, you can share here and we can discuss.
Okay, so maybe let me first go for voting because I know time is running. Let me first do the voting and then we shall come back and discuss later.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And if you're not able to vote, you can just put your choice on the chat, and if your idea as well, we'll share the team afterwards.
About a minute left, guys. So if you haven't got your votes in, please vote those of you online.
You can use it.
I think it was muted. You can try again. It might come to you.
If your stickers are ready, please start putting them up around the room.
Rahim, if you would like to share, you can just speak up.
Time's up, everybody. at time.
Yes, money.
We are at time. So if you haven't put your stickers up, please wait. Wait, if you haven't put your stickers up, wait. I'm going to ask this to first start with your, where you're going to put
Hello,
your stickers.
Ibrahim, are you?
We'll bring the stickers back from the citizens.
No,
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think I'm done with mine. I don't know. Is that what you see on the screen?
Yeah.
So we can go by that one at the moment as I'm looking for others.
It's okay. So what did you want to share? Again, you had comments on some of the proposed change or mechanism.
Yeah, the proposed changes are really good and I really love them. But like for the number 1.1, by talking about the decriminalizing manual handling of people sludge. To me, I think this is not a good way to go. The best way to go could be after the comma, providing the guidelines and standard operating procedures.
Can you come again? You're saying you think?
I think on my side it's not good for us to decriminalize manual handling of people. Because if you say like in our slum, where the country, find that more of the manual handling which was there than successful. So that's why to me I would love it not to be decriminalized, but we can just provide the SOPs to these people so that we can have safe manual handling of fecal sludge.
So your point is to formalize them.
To formalize
Make
them, that's
more.
a better way than criminalizing the process of handling manually, fecal sludge manually. But providing the guidelines and the SOPs, this is so good.
Because I mean, this is one of the most important ones to try and you can
To me,
decriminalize manual handling, but if you don't decriminalize it in a positive and healthy way, then you can't move forward.
Anyone else with a comment on the proposed mechanism of change or need? What you feel is more. If you have to choose 5, which one would you feel like? Any comment from the rest of the audience online?
And also we have 2.2, which are financial incentives for safe disposal, because you can decriminalize it and you can make sure that people actually.
Can you come again, whoever was speaking?
Decriminalizing manual
Hello? If there was someone speaking, I didn't catch them well. Can you come again?
Citizens, are we clear what they voted for? No.
We've gone for removing charges, managing, decriminalising manual handling, providing free vaccines.
And?
Removing blocks. And subsidise higher purchase.
Yeah, and moving blocks and making sure that people can rent equipment simply as well.
Okay. Can we have the group on manual pit emptiers come and present what they posted? 1 minute.
Okay, so we are the manual emptiers. Ours is very quick. We want to stop being criminals. So we are voting for decriminalization for the manual handling of fecal sludge.
Thank you. So decriminalizing of the manual handling of fecal sludge, we gave those 2 votes. And then also providing free vaccinations for all sanitation workers, because we know that our job is risky. And we also don't even have the money for the PPEs. So we gave this 1 vote. And then we still want money. So we are also voting to remove blocks to disposal of sludge and pay service providers for each cubic metric of fecal sludge disposed. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, now can we have the vacuum trucks? Ah, good question. The formal vacuum truck. Yes. Should we start here and then we'll go there? Yeah.
One of the changes. We voted for providing free vaccinations for all sanitation workers, common and informal, and providing a wide range of PPE and free PPE to all sanitation workers. We also supported subsidized hire purchase schemes, making it available to all registered service providers. What we also want is service providers have increased authority to regulate other service providers. We also want to consult with manual pit emptiers and provide permanent or temporary transfer stations at convenient points. And we also want to expand training to include local government staff and build advocacy component to address stigma linked to manual emptying.
Thank you very much. A very different set of regulatory priorities. Do you agree, of the team?
No. There's too much of goodiness happening there. We got to watch for a business interest. Yeah. So we are the West Side tanker operators. Yeah. We do better at business. So first, we want to actually have authority to rule in our markets, in our zones. That helps us also work with our brothers and sisters, the manual empty groups who we collaborate with very often. Then we want to drive out illegal competition away from the market. So we want to increase the penalties significantly, where it becomes more difficult. Because we go and we dispose sludge. Then we also want to remove the blocks to disposing of safely, so you get to pay us as well, the utility. And the last demand that we have, we want some subsidized purchase of vehicles and all, because right now it's all our investment, our risk, and all the utilities credit. So if you want credit, then we would like you to pay for it as well.
Okay, very controversial. Controversial. What about the managing directors? What did you think?
Thank you. So we realize that there is a fund that we are missing that lies on the very poor, and that is where cholera comes from. So we want to unlock that. So we want to decriminalize the manual handling of the fecal sludge. So perhaps later we gain something from it. And we allow subsidized higher purchase schemes. So we want to incentivize economically for those who will be doing good, and hopefully we will decrease the pressure in terms of cost for the good doers and discourage the bad guys. Maybe we'll catch that money later. Informal information instruments. We went for the mobile app for consumers, so we get more people involved in the process and do something like peer-to-peer regulation. So we kind of step out of it and allow the community to self-regulate. That will probably enforce compliance while giving us some space. In terms of core or self-regulation, we would do a similar, take a similar approach to support the city branch of the association to act as a surrogate. So we'll relieve part of the pressure for us to pay for the services and deliver everything. So I think that will be more efficient to us. And support in terms of capacity, we go with the expanding of training to include unlicensed informal. So we will also consider the informal sector to bring them up. Thank you.
Some disagreement with some previous groups, but also national regulators. Do you agree with spending money on creating a mobile app and more subsidies? What did you think?
Okay. We partly agreed on that, but we had a few principles. First, we wanted to be very inclusive and to be a facilitator rather than a punitive regulator. So we had 1.1 being decriminalizing manual handling of fecal sludge. We had the second one, 1.2, removing charges for licensing, provide an extended amnesty period for unlicensed MTS to work while being trained. Then we also wanted to remove blocks to dispose of sludge safely, pay service providers for each cubic meter. We also wanted to reward performance. So the more they are able to bring it to the treatment point, the more we reward them, no matter how small. Then we went into information, which is a service directory and approved branding. We wanted to know where they were operating. So we're replacing it with a mobile app for customers to book licensed vacuum tankers, operators, and track delivery along with service areas and prices. The mobile app includes a customer feedback and rating system. Some of our experiences with branding, you would find a yellow truck in a green zone. You find it difficult to know, for the locals, it's difficult for them to know that they are supposed to have green instead of yellow. So having the app would help them actually know first which one is closest to them, which one is cheaper, and you'll be able to engage such. Then we know they will not be able to do that fast, so we'll need to train them. 5.2, expand training to also include unlicensed and informal service providers. One thing we jumped is that we didn't want to share our responsibility with any other group, so we didn't agree with co-regulation or self-regulation. Thank you.
Do you also agree with those points, this national regulation?
We are more or less not far from our colleagues, the national regulation. We are also looking at licensing and certification of sanitation service providers, and in this particular case, removing charges for the licenses. One of our colleagues was saying, no, we remove so that they can be on board, and when they all come, we introduce. We almost added that on our point. Secondly, we also are looking at increasing penalties significantly, since we have removed the licenses, so the people who are disposing of in the wrong places should be charged highly. Another thing we would like to do is, of course, to make subsidized hire purchase for the available registered schemes available to registered service providers. Then another thing is the mobile app. We also approve of it to book licensed vacuum tankers through the mobile app. And another thing, we looking at training programs for the operators, expanding the training to all the unlicensed and informal service providers. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, some winners, some losers. We haven't really found the best for everybody yet, but let's see what the online group says. Yes, they are the international finance institutions and funders.
Please, I'd like to call you to speak for the group.
Yeah, no problem.
Maybe that's where we have the low sanitation coverage.
We've got this down, so maybe turn it up.
Bruce, can you feedback?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So for our online group, which was representing the financing institution, so yeah, as we have a big loan and we want visibility, it was hard to choose just 5 changes, but there are some who had more votes compared to the others. So the first 2, which were top ranked, like the top 2, it's licensing, removing charges for licenses and provide amnesty period for those unlicensed MTRs. So that's one. The second was to provide free vaccine. So we want to encourage the private sector to do the job and provide that service, because I feel like this sector should be it can be financially sustainable, and we are looking to empower it. So those are the ones that got 2 votes each, but for the other, there were some votes that it was hard to choose only other 3. So we went with first one, which was the change 2.1, removing the penalty. We also agree with the rest of the audience in person. The other one was the financial incentive, removing blocks to dispose sludge safely. So we all, looking at what the choices for the online people, we are more about empowering the private service providers. We feel like with more support, they can do the work. So yeah, for the tool that has been talked in the audience about the mobile app, online, it wasn't really given a vote, but with the co-regulation, and so we chose 4.2 to support city to create association of MTRs, so like they can increase the accessibility of these services. Lastly, we also chose the capacity building for local authorities, expanded training for the local government. Yeah. Those are options we chose for the online team group. Thank you.
Potentially to allocate the different amount of resources and influence that you have in reality in the current structure in the city. And we're going to ask you to think about those resources in 3 dimensions: time, so the number of hours that you have to invest in supporting priority changes; finances, the budget your organisation or your household has available and where you would allocate that; and also your social capital, looking at this from the perspective of influencing other stakeholders, the relationships that you have, the reputation, the brand. And just to highlight another key point, you can put all of these on one change if you want, or you can put them on as many changes as you think need to be driven forward and that you can support with through your resources. So just think that through, and if there's one change that you think is really the most critical, you can put your resources there, or you can allocate them. Okay? And any questions on that before we go into this? Yeah.
So we don't have a short list of regulations.
So you're working from the same list, the same list of mechanisms.
We don't have a short list based upon the first round. We don't
No,
have
so it's a good question, thank you. So no, you are not bound to what you put in the first round, because the first round was an open vote. Here we're asking you to look more narrowly at your role as a stakeholder. Because there are some actions that you can influence, others that perhaps less so. So this is not about building on the 5 that you identified. You can look again at the list anew and allocate your resources to what you think can happen, and you can move forward.
I was thinking.
Yeah, I think you've only got 6 minutes for this, okay?
So for those of you online, the people in person are they have resources for time, financial capital, and social capital, and there are different amounts of that depending on your stakeholder group. So as you are the international financial institutions, you have infinite amounts, you have the most. So basically, I'm going to put in another Mentimeter, and for us, the 5 that we picked, mechanisms that we've just chosen, we have to choose how we allocate.
Just to clarify, everyone, same process as before. If you make a note of where you want to put your stickers, then we're going to ask you to actually place them.
It should be the same Mentimeter, just the second slide, the third slide, and the fourth slide. You should be able to then to see and vote how you choose to distribute of the resources, each of the 5 mechanisms.
Just most votes, regulations.
Individualization.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, Tim, I was muted. I didn't realize it. So I was saying in this activity, we have limited resources related to time, finances, as well as social capital. And yeah, we have already chosen some proposed change. And now in this part, we are trying to find out how you can allocate the resources you have. If you look at for example, we chose the change of removing the license fees. So how much finance are you going to give to that? The time are you allocating in maybe in that change, or if you are talking about decriminalizing pit tempting, are you putting more finances into it, more time, or are you putting social capital in order to change? How would you invest those resources? Anyone with a idea, please come forward and share. And we have shared the link of yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, please.
Okay, I think had we chosen 1.3? Is it also in the list? 1.3,
So
yes.
these are the top 5 decided from the whole group based on the whole session.
So
yeah, the 1.2 is about
it's about licensing, removing
the
charges of
licensing. Yes. The second is providing free vaccine. The 2.1 is about penalties for increasing penalty for disposing in unapproved, non-approved areas. The 2.2 is about removing blocks to dispose sludge regularly, or pay service provider for each cubic meter they dispose. And 2.3 is about purchasing equipment to registered service providers like vehicles, mechanical. So in those 5 changes, if you had the limited funds, how would you invest them? On which change would you put more finances? Yeah, you are free to vote as well. I'll share as we.
Okay.
We're a little behind, but it is important to hear from all of you. But really, come with me on this in keeping your interventions brief. So maybe just 30 seconds, just talk us through how you've allocated. So we're going to start with, not for any particular reason, but I'm going to start with the utility. So can the utility tell us which way you're leaning in your resourcing?
Okay.
And one of you can stick them up in parallel, and if one of you can just quickly tell us.
I can stick them up. You've written them down, right?
Okay, the utility needs to get themselves in shape. Let's go to another group. Should we go to the? She's coming.
I'm picking them up and he's talking.
Okay, please, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
They do have a lot of money, don't they?
So we will put time to support capacity building. So we will put more time on expanding training to include unlicensed informal service providers. We will put time also in consultation with the manual pit emptiers, because these are our hands, the people who will deliver for us. We will also reach out to the pit emptier associations and invest some time working with them. A bit more time will be invested in the mobile application, especially engaging customers, because they will be the ones interacting with this. But we will have to include the developers and all the systems and everything. So I think we will invest some time in there. So those are the key areas where we will.
And for budget, are you aligning that with with time, or are you making any distinction there?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. So some places we invest more, but yes, we will put a bit of money in terms of training. So there will be substantial time and money in this. Also some money in to engage the pit emptiers associations. But we thought we will invest more heavily in terms of money on the mobile app development and all the processes involved.
And social capital? The capital that you have in terms of...
Yes, we will, in all this, we will also
like that.
So
I may not have used the right term there, is it down to social capital?
We will also lose some money through the subsidies that we will have made.
Okay, thank you. A round of applause for the utility, please. So I think good news for emptiers overall, I would say there, because the utility is offering to commit time and budget to training of the emptiers. Let's come to this group for our first group on formal emptiers, ETOs.
Yeah, thanks. We spent a little time, as there was a lot of voting on the mobile app, we are fine with that, so we just invest some time there. We have quite some time in and money if you look at the subsidy scheme, because there, yeah, it's seen as, from our point of view, as an investment. Also with 2.2 and 2.1, these economic instruments, we are in favor of them, so we're spending social capital time and even money there voting. And then we have some resource that we put into block 1.1 actually. So we are going to frustrate the process on decarbonization because it endanger our business. So that's why we put the process in, because we put the resources there, but just to
Okay, so absolutely ruthless operators there. Let's give our informal manual emptiers an opportunity to respond. Where are you allocating your resources?
Number one here.
Social.
We are also allocating our money towards economic instruments. We want to, as much as possible, subsidize wages, etc. for ourselves. We also want to spend some amount of money on zonal licensing, especially the incentives part. And we have a lot of social capital and even more amount of time, so we wanted to dedicate towards discussions around, say, pay service providers for each cubic liter of fecal sludge disposed at FSTP. We also want to talk, use our social capital as well as time, again, around service providers having increased authority to regulate other services.
Okay, that's a good set. Thank you. And let's take it to the other group of emptiers. Yes. You're the informal. Sorry, I got that mixed up. Okay. So what's your response? You've had one quite aggressive intervention, one more cooperative.
They want to work with us. Yeah, we are protesting. We had a lot of time on our hands, but not a lot of resources. We put a little bit of financial resources, so one sticker to getting free vaccinations. Some of our social influence, so one sticker for removing the charges for licensing, but we are going on strike and putting all our time into decriminalizing illegal fecal sludge. And also getting training, so let's see how everyone does with poopful of,
So quite right, and I'm interested, where do the citizens stand on this? Will you be lending your support, will you be lending your time and social capital to this strike? But do tell us what you get.
Well, we can get much money. We have a lot of social capital and not much time. So we put all of our little green stickers, 3 of them, into decriminalising manual handling, which makes sense. joining the strike. Our time, not very much, maybe half an hour a day, into engaging the CBOs and local leaders and monitoring, which makes sense. But controversially, we've kept our money. Because we don't think the burden of finances should be put onto households. So this is going on food and education. Yeah. We kept our stickers.
Well, there you are. I mean, that was a pure insight into the challenges around affordability to pay, willingness to pay. But there is growing momentum around decriminalisation of empties. So I want to hear now from the regulator. Regulator, sorry. Do you have a perspective on that, and where have you allocated your resources more broadly?
Well, we had a lot of everything, I guess, and so then we tried to split it across all of our things as best as we could. We tried to put most of our social capital into decriminalising the manual handling. We've tried to put a lot of social capital and some of our time into the things that are regulation. I feel like we should put our time on that because that's what we are. And again, for the removing charges for licenses, we put time, social, and a little bit of money into that. When it came to the removing blocks to dispose of sludge safely, again, we put more social capital in that. We had, again, another 3 bits of social capital, a little bit of time, but we didn't want to put any money into that because we don't think that's our responsibility. That should come from somewhere else. But we wanted to go ahead, so we put our social capital into it instead. And then when it comes to our funding, we put that towards the mobile app, because then at least everybody knows what's going on and there's a better provision there as well. And then finally, expanding training, we put money and time into that. So hopefully we spread our resources okay and you guys don't hate us too much.
Good. Round of applause for the regulator. Quite well considered response and putting in time to building capacity of the service providers as well. And then I think this is our final group.
That's also a regulator.
So please, this is also the regulator.
Yes, we removing charges for the licenses. We added in finances, time, and social capital. Then increasing penalties significantly. We yes, we have to make sure we are adding in a lot of time.
Oh, we will add money.
And money to enforce, and also social capital to work with the community so that they watch out. Who is disposing wrongly? For subsidized hire purchase schemes, we're adding in finances and time. Of course, no social capital there. For the app, mobile app, we're adding in finances and time to develop it. Then also expand training, we're adding in finances and time. And went ahead outside our main 5. We had a balance of social capital. And we tried to give the CBOs and local leaders to help us monitor and create a hotline for reporting illegal sludge dumping. We are still enforcing seriously. And also,
They should be in the same situation.
yes, we also added some bit of social capital to consult with manual emptiers and to see how far we can put some transfer stations, because we are looking at only one single FSTP, which is outside the city, to improve on access to disposal facilities. Then we also had another one, social capital, which we put it in expanding training to include local government staff and build advocacy component to address stigma linked to manual emptying. Thank you.
Really interesting. So some commonalities in regulatory approach. I think you both mentioned mobile apps, so it looks like the mobile app is going to be introduced and supported. You both mentioned training, but then some differences in approach and a more command and control approach, I think, from this group in terms of enforcement and penalties. Okay, so we'll come now to our online group, and then we'll close out and share some closing reflections.
Right. Online it was a bit different. Out of the previous 5 they tried to allocate their resources. And so starting with time, Bruce, are you able to feedback to us?
Yeah, no problem. So for the online group, so we a little bit had a challenge at the beginning, and the time was really short for us to discuss the allocation of resources. But one thing that struck out is that the financing team online is really willing to support the service providers, and looking at it in terms of time capital. So we feel like we are going to support more by providing a free vaccine, the range of PPE or available tools so that the sanitation workers can be able to do their work. Secondly, we were talking about the purchase of the higher purchase model of the equipment so that those service providers can still be able to provide the service safely in the context. And the other 3 changes that received similar time was to remove the charges for the licenses, and 2.1, which was about the penalty. And because we feel like it's a decision that has to be made, and if it will take less time if they agree and just decide to do that. And the last one was 2.2 related to removing blocks to dispose of sludge safely. So those we feel like if they are made as decisions, they can be implemented without much time. Next, about the financial. Yeah, still on the financial, where we will put more effort will be in, first of all, the making the job safe and hygienic. And secondly, it will be about removing the license. We know that sometimes the license fee supports the maintaining the treatment plant or where the sludge is disposed, so that we are keeping financing it. But the other 3 other changes that had the same amount of financial resources was the penalty change, increasing the penalty. So, and the other one is all about the second mechanism about economic instruments. So on the financial part, still the sanitation workers have need to be more supported, and other economic instrument can be supported through other sources. Yep. Next, for the social capital. Yeah. So for this one, we didn't have enough time to discuss the rationale of allocating this capital to, but again, the one about providing a free vaccine and sanitation worker, I feel like it's something that needs to be done with everyone supports, like many stakeholders supporting those sanitation workers do the risky job that they do in more safe manner. Yeah, the other one was also still about removing charges. We still feel like social capital can also go there in the same amount as the increasing the subsidy, the higher for purchasing equipment for the sanitation service provider. Thank you.
So we had all kinds of other things that we wanted to talk to you about. So, but don't get worried. So I'll just show you what we wanted to talk to you about. So, So anyway, I'll just keep talking. So we wanted to talk about some of the debates that we've had, so like hard-nosed versus like responsive regulation. We also wanted to talk about dealing with informality. And we also wanted to talk about like, why is no one doing co-regulation? That's crazy. But we're not going to do that. And then we also wanted Bruce to give a whole load of experience on how they dealt with hard-nosed regulation in Kigali and like how they worked around it. And we also wanted Sam to talk about formalising informal emptiers and the work that he's doing with SOS. But we're not going to do any of that because we don't have time and everyone needs a coffee. So I'm just going to hand over to Dr. Felix to thank everyone, and then we're going to hand over to John to hand out prizes. So say thank you for everyone's participation.
Thank you very much, Claire. Yes. So just want to thank everybody what you're doing. Yes, all those cases that you have, it looks, it may look hypothetical, didn't put a name to a city on it, but that is a typical Kampala, that's a typical Nairobi, it's a typical Kigali. These are the real life problems and real life situations that you are facing. And the challenge we have when we do this in our office and making these discussions, sometimes we do it from a single perspective, single mind from one region, from an engineering perspective. But when we come together, a diverse group like this from different regions and centers of the world, we put our thoughts into it. It will be such invaluable efforts, and we could see a lot of issues coming up, like incentive-based regulations, things you think like, but you get an opinion from a wide sector group. So all of you, thank you very much, and thank you, very big hand clap to all of you for your time for sharing us. With that, Jonathan will give us the facts in a better way with the present.
Okay, this is the most important bit, but also the least important bit. So for me, there were 3 winners, and my metric for winning was laughs. And so the teams that got the biggest laughs, and I used laughs as the winning metric because I felt that was an indication of controversy and highlighting the tension that exists within this regulatory system for emptying and transport services. So the 3 winning teams are obviously the famous informal manual protesters. Yeah, we'll work on that. The quite scary regulator down here. And the formal exhauster truck operators at the back there. Okay. And I think that's going to bring us to a close. Thank you all very much for coming, and I hope you had a good time and you learned about the tensions regulating empty services. Oh yeah, oh sorry. And actually, but I told you who the winners are, you're all going to get prizes. This is the only time when the resources are shared equally amongst everyone, but you do need to work out how to share them within your group. Thanks everyone.
Very much for those of you joined online. I guess your prize is participation. But